Hey everyone, I'm Alex, and this is a short class to help the correction of a common postural issue where the pelvis is tilted forward, resulting in low back pain due to tight psoas muscles, a compressed low back, and lack of front core strength. I posted about this a while ago on my Instagram account, Back Here Yoga, so if you want, you can go and read more about that over there. Let's get started. Come down to all four. Distance your knees slightly, take your big toes together and sit back on your heels. From here, relax your forehead to the ground, relax your arm, your elbows. Relax your whole body. And start to notice how the body is feeling right now. We don't want to criticize, we don't need any opinion about it, we just want to observe. Notice how it makes you feel being in this position right now. If there is some low back pain, maybe you're feeling some kind of release. Start to deepen your breath slightly. And see if you can direct your breath to the back body. So every inhale, you feel the back of your body expand. Every exhale, you'll feel a little bit more relaxed. And then with the next inhale, lift your gaze and walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. Lengthen especially your left arm here so that you feel the whole left side of your body expand. And relax your forehead. It doesn't matter if it reaches the ground or not. And now start to direct every inhale to the left lung. And then inhale, lift your gaze, walk your hands over to the left side of your mat. Reach forward, especially with your right arm this time. Direct your inhales to the right side of your body and feel the right side of your rib cage expand. Notice if there's any obvious differences between this side and the previous side. You could stay a little longer on the side that you feel tension on if you would like. And then inhale, lift your gaze, come back to center. Maybe reach your arms forward, so your elbow lifts. Ground your hands. And inhale again, come up to a tabletop position. And we're going to do a few gentle cat and cows here. So with the next inhale, bring your heart forward, lift your gaze slightly. And then exhale, round your upper back, push the ground away. Again, inhale to open up. Try to move from the upper part of your back. And then exhale, rounding. One more time. Inhale to open up. And exhale, pushing the ground away. Inhale, come back to a neutral position. Point your feet, lift your knees, and push yourself back into a downward facing dog. Keep your knees bent, especially now in the beginning. We're trying to find length in the back. So lift your tailbone slightly, don't overdo it. Push the ground away. And then maybe start to take one heel towards the ground and then the other, walking your dog a little bit. Don't go too fast. Feel into your body. And then with the next inhale, lift your gaze. Lift both of your heels up. And exhale, start to lower your knees, but keep them a couple of inches off the ground. So engage your core here. Lift your low belly in and up. Be strong in your shoulders, pushing the mat away. Make sure that you're not dropping your head. And breathe. Lit that flame in your belly. Just one more breath. And the next exhale, slowly lower your knees to the ground. Keep your toes pointed. Shift your hips back slightly so that they are behind the knees. And start to walk your hands forward. So we're lengthening the back here, creating some traction. So while we are here, we're trying to rotate the arms externally, meaning we are trying to rotate the elbows towards the ground. The head shouldn't reach the ground. Your hands are engaged, pushing down. And your hips are lengthening the back, the opposite direction. Here we have puppy pose. And to get out of the pose, take your hands underneath your shoulders, coming back to tabletop position. Then sliding your left knee right behind your left hand. Shifting the foot slightly to the right side, keeping the back of the foot towards the ground. And start to walk your right leg and your hips back. It doesn't matter if the hips reaches the ground or not. You could use a block here if you have one, or a pillow underneath your left glute, but it's not necessary. So try to find some alignment. Find that place where you do feel some sensation in your, probably in your left hip or thigh, or perhaps even in your low back. You don't want it to be too uncomfortable, but you do want to feel something. Once you found the right position for you, you can start to lower down on your forearms, or if you prefer, all the way down to your forehead. See if you can relax the body here. You can almost quickly mentally scan your body to see if there's anything else you can let go of. Sometimes in these poses, we start to hold on to the feelings because they can be very intense. So see if you can relax the muscles in your face, the shoulders, your hands. Watch your breath to see if you're still breathing or if you're holding on to something here. Is it possible for you to stay here and relax in the uncomfortable? And this is the practice of yoga. Learning to become comfortable in the uncomfortable. To observe and to let go. To be okay with whatever is present in this moment. And slowly start to lift your gaze. Taking your hands to the ground. Shift your hips forward. And take your left leg back. If you want, you can come back to a downward facing dog for a moment. Walking the dog, creating some movements. And exhale, come back to the ground with your knees. Take the right knee behind the right hand and shift the foot towards the left side. Make sure that the back of the foot is towards the ground. And start to walk back your left leg and the hips. Again, it doesn't matter if you don't reach the ground completely. Take a moment to find the right position for you. Just make sure that you're pretty square to the ground with your hips. And whenever you feel ready, start to lower down to your forearms or to your forehead. Sometimes taking a big breath here can help to relax. Again, if you want, you can scan the body for anything that you might be holding on to. Let your feelings come and go. Stay present with whatever exists in this moment for you. Inhale, start to lift your gaze and ground your hands. Lift your hips. Take your right leg back. Point your toes and lift your hips to come back to that downward facing dog, creating some movement. inhale, shift your weight forward to a plank position. And if this is too much, you can take the knees to the ground, but make sure that you're in plank position and you're not in a tabletop position. Your knees should be all the way back, and it should look like a plank from sideways. It should be a straight line from the knees or your feet, if you're on the feet, to your shoulders. Lift your low belly in and up, and be strong in your shoulders. So it's better to keep your hips slightly too much lifted rather than sinking with your hips. Because if you're sinking with the hips, you're compressing the low back and you're not engaging the core. And you can always take your knees to the ground at any time. If you want something more, perhaps with the next inhale, shift the weight forward so that your shoulders are in front of your wrists. And exhale, shift yourself back again. Two more times like that. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Exhale, come back. And one last time. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Exhale, come back. Bend your knees, push yourself back into downward facing dog. And with the next inhale, lift your right leg behind you. Keep your hips square to the ground, so your right foot is flexed and the toes are pointed downwards. It doesn't matter how far back you can reach your leg. Keep integrity instead. And exhale, lower the leg. Inhale, lift the left leg. Same thing on this side. Try to keep alignment rather than thinking of how far back you can reach. Although you can imagine that you have a wall behind your foot that you're pushing away with your heel. Exhale, lower back down. Take your knees to the ground. From here, we'll take the right foot forward, right on the inside of your right hand. And make sure that your right ankle is right beneath the right knee, especially so that your knee doesn't go in front of the ankle. And if you have some more space, you can always shift the left knee back some more. If it hurts, if you're sensible in the knee, you can always take a blanket underneath, something soft. If you have a couple of blocks, you can put your hands on the blocks or even some books, as long as they are piled up to similar piles. Once you've come into the pose, just as we did in pigeon pose, we will try to relax, especially the area around the hips. So you can take your attention to wherever you're feeling tension. And instead of escaping the sensation, we will observe it. We will stay present with it and feel every bit of it. And see if with the exhales, maybe we can let go some of that tension. Maybe there is some way to relax slightly more when we bring our awareness to it. Just a couple of more breaths here. And then move back your right leg. And take your left foot forward instead. Find the same alignment as before. Make sure that your knee is stacked above your ankle, that it's not in front of it. Also make sure that you're not opening up the knee to the side. Breathe and observe. So this is a great pose to do every day. Whether it's in the morning or in the evening, it helps to keep the psoas muscles healthy. And especially if you have that duck butt where the glutes sticks out and you have a pouting belly, the hips are tilted forward, your psoas muscles are probably tight, pulling on those lower vertebrae, which will cause some bad back pain. And if you're sitting for many hours a day, the psoas muscles tends to get shorter. So it's a pose that is good for most people, not just if you have a forward tilted pelvis, but it definitely helps and is essential if you have that. Just a couple of more breaths here. And take your left leg back again. From here you can sit on your heels, take your legs to the side and then in front of you. And we're gonna lay down on the back. Just one more pose to fire up the core before we relax. You can take your hands right beneath the soft part of the glutes, so not underneath the sacred bone, but slightly more, let's say, forward, so that it will stabilize your pelvis and your low back. Then lift your legs and keep them at 90 degrees. Your knees are stacked above the hips. Make sure that there is some space between your low back and the mat. A neutral back will have a little bit of arch in it, in the low part. Then draw your low belly in and up. Fire it up. And exhale. Start to lengthen the right leg forward and down, almost touching the ground with the heel if you can. And then inhale, come back to where it was. Exhale, same thing with the other leg. And inhale, slowly come back. Continue this way, alternate the legs, and make sure that you're not lifting the back more than it is already lifted. You're not moving the pelvis. Everything is stable. So if this means that you have to lower it slightly less, that's okay. Continue to exhale, lengthening the leg, firing up the front core, and inhale, taking the leg back to 90 degrees. Just one more time on each side. And And you can bend your knees, give yourself a big hug, take your knees to the chest. Maybe even roll a little bit from side to side if it makes you feel good. And then lower your feet to the ground. So instead of a traditional Shavasana, for our low back, we will keep the legs bent. Distance the feet to the border of the mat and relax the knees towards one another. Maybe pushing the head slightly to the ground so that you can slide the shoulder blades towards your feet. Turn your palms upwards and close your eyes. Be present with your body, with your breath. And you can stay here for as long as you want. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.